pulling in on their lures, etc. But let's go back to bass love grass. If you find grass, you're going to find some bass. So I'm going to quick little breakdown here of what I think of when I'm fishing grass. I basically think of three things. I'm either going to fish over the top of the grass, through the grass, or directly in the grass. Baits to use for that, as I was breaking down this video, I actually came across, it's wide open. You know, if you think about those techniques there, again, there's a lot of things to take into this: time of day, your lake conditions, stuff like that. But these are three techniques when you are on a lake, body of water that has a lot of grass that you can think about. So let's start with that first one, over the top. So again, different types of grass. If your grass is not up to the surface, you know, kind of submergent grass, it's under the surface a little bit, you see the grass, you know there's grass there. Again, there's going to be bass there, but you know, it's clear on top. Well, as far as over the top water, obviously, any kind of top water. You can throw, you know, there's a spook. You're walking top water. It's got the treble hooks on here, but it's going to stay on the top walking back and forth. You can throw your popper. There's another one. Again, if it's open area where you're not going to be catching in the grass, if you can walk it in, you know, work it in between the pockets of grass like that, any type of top water like that'll work. Buzz bait. You've seen me do videos on the buzz bait before. Even if you got a little grass, this will come through there pretty well. I love throwing this in shallow water over grass. Get some marvelous blow-ups on that and catch big fish catcher. There's one. Your whopper plopper. I don't have one there. Think of any top water you can throw over grass if the grass is submerged, not all the way up to the surface. Now, if your grass, your vegetation is on the surface and it's really starting to get matted, you can't throw treble hooks, you're going to get hooked up on there. That buzz bait, you're going to get that caught up in there. So now we go our frogs and our toads. We got a couple different kind of hollow body frogs here. One is that popper style. It's got a little cup lip on there. That one works like that popper bait, except it is weedless. So again, you're not going to throw this over matted lily pads, matted grass, but you're going to be able to pop it over a few things like that. If you got a little more, you got your toad. This will go a little bit below the surface, but this will also go across the top of some matted vegetation, stuff like that, your little ribbit toads and things like that. You can rig this weedless, basically Texas rigging it on a hook. You can use a regular EWG hook. A lot of them use the screw lock, but you put that hook right in there, embed that in there, and that can be pretty weedless too. Again, that is when you get a little bit more vegetation right up to the top, but also in some open areas too. Now you got full vegetation all the way to your top. We go with the obvious choice here, that hollow body frog. These things are weedless as weedless can be. You can throw this thing on the bank and pull it off the bank. When I'm messing around in my yard, I'm throwing you know, just trying to check out some line or working on a reel, and I just want to do some casts in my yard, I pull out the, you know, hollow body frog and I can cast as much as I want and not get it hooked up on anything. So there's your, you know, what I say, on top of the grass or over the grass, your top waters. Through the grass, again, we're opening up a lot of areas. Again, that's going to be determined how thick is the grass, you know, what level of the grass going. You kind of maybe combine, you kind of think, well, really we're kind of throwing over it, but this is subsurface lures. A couple that come to mind right away, that's your chatterbait, your vibrating jig. This will fish through grass. Again, super thick, you're going to get hung up a lot. But you think of that sparse grass and stuff a while, get hung up on there and you just rip it through and generate a lot of bites like that. You can also work this different levels to keep it right above the tips of the grass. So there you go. This is kind of that through grass method. Again, super thick, you know, you're not going to get it through there. Another one that follows that, swim jig. This thing, you know, is a 4-wheel drive of baits, even though it's got a single hook. Usually got some type of weed guard on there. You can fish this in a numerous amount of places. This will go through some grass, above the grass. You can throw it down in and just let it hop it. I mean, you can do a lot of things with the swim jig. This isn't a swim jig video, but there's a good option for fishing through grass. And again, if you want to keep it right above the top, flip it over the tips of that grass. Yeah, I guess technically that's an over the grass. But you can throw this, you find a lily pad field with some openings in there, you can throw it right in there and work it through there. This thing will come through almost anything. Some that don't come to mind, and I think most anglers are going to shy away from when you think of through the grass, but this is more through really sparse grass, kind of hitting the tops of it and stuff like that. Again, you're not going to rip it through a big grass field, but your square bill crankbait. Or if it's really deep grass, you can throw a little, deeper diving crankbait. I have caught a lot of bass fishing in and around grass with a square bill crankbait. Again, if you know this runs about 4 feet deep, if your grass is coming up to about 4 feet, well, you're going to get it hooked up a little bit, but you're going to hit the tops of that grass and it's going to start moving around. You're going to generate some bites. This will come through some grass if you work it right. Again, you're going to pull up, you might make 5 casts, 3 of those might have grass on them. 2 of those might have a bass on them. So it's worth a try. Don't be afraid to throw something with treble hooks in grass. That takes me to my go-to if I'm fishing grass where, again, it's submerged grass and I can kick the tops of it and even pull it through some of it. That's my hybrid hunter. Hybrid hunter, I love this bait for a lot of reasons. It's got a lot of noise. It runs parallel like this. It's just going to wobble back and forth. That L-shaped lip on there makes it run parallel, so you're not diving into the grass. It's running through it. It'll tick some grass and it'll start popping all over the place. What I really like about this is it comes in 2 different sizes. This is the regular size, and then they call this the junior size. You can kind of see the difference there. Maybe put on top of each other, hoping you see that. Hopefully I'm not too far away from the camera. So, if they're not coming after that, or you're getting some little strikes, but they're missing, they're not really getting that full size in their mouth, downsize a little bit. I caught one of my biggest bass last year on this particular bait right here. Different sizes. Now what I like about these, this runs anywhere 3 to 5 feet deep. You can really control the depth with your rod tip. You hold your rod tip up a little more, it's going to run shallow. And again, once it's in there, it's running straight across like that. It's not diving down, it's running pretty much at a parallel level. Same with this one. Now, if your grass is up a little bit higher, again, what I like about this, I can take this exact same size, same rattle, same color, same everything, or this same size, same everything, and they make a shallow runner. That shallow runner runs 1 to 2 feet deep. I did a tournament earlier this year, you saw. I was throwing some deep, some shallow grass. I was in 2-3 foot of water. I was catching fish in a foot of water, throwing the shallow runner of these. So I really like this. Again, this is something that you can fish in and around grass. You're super thick, obviously, you see a plotch of matted grass, you're not going to throw much of anything through that, and this is definitely one of them. But again, don't be scared to throw this around some submerged grass, kick it over the top, maybe even run it right through it a little bit. Again, you might make 5 casts, 3 of them might be pulling grass off your lure when you get it in there, but that 4th or 5th one might be a really nice bass on there. Those are pretty much my go. Now we're going to talk about, oh, I got one more, sorry. A swim bait, some type of swim bait. I just happen to have this one tied on here, a little Kayak. And here's the hook I use for that. I like to use the weighted ones. This is a screw lock. Basically, you do that, and then you Texas rig it. You bury that hook in that little pocket or somewhere in that bait, so it's weedless. Again, this kind of go through that same area. This is through in the grass, over the top of the grass. Another option to throwing around grass, so you don't have to be so intimidated. Are you gonna get hung up once in a while? Absolutely. But not very often. Throw it around grass. Now, if you got really thick grass and none of this is going to come through there, well, then you're going to gotta what I call fishing in the grass. And there are a number of things you can use for that, as far as trailers and things. Basically, technique is kind of a punching. Now, you can use some jigs for that. I'm not much of a jig fisherman. I don't have any laid out here other than my swim jig. But if you think of that, weedless again, you pop something that's going to go through the vegetation. It's sitting down there, and you pop it up a few times, pull it out, throw it in another hole. Do the same thing. Something that's going to bust through that heavy and vegetation. So another way to do that is something Texas rigged. First you can either get a 3/4 or an ounce bullet weight. I don't have any laying out here for you, but most of you know what those are. Most of the time you peg it, or you can let it free slide on your line. Hook that up to your whatever hook you want. I happen to have this hooked up to a big max worm here. That's that Zoom Magnum. But again, your Texas rig, you're going to have something that you can bury your hook in so it's not hooked up in the grass. You get that heavy weight on there, it pops through there. You can throw this in the grass. It's called, a punching technique, where you throw enough weight on there, you tap it, and it punches itself through the grass, and you pop it up a couple times. You're not going to really work it through it. You're going to have a hard time working anything through the grass. One I did not put out here on my table that I can't forget, that I love throwing around grass, in grass, over grass, through grass a little bit. Maybe not so much that in, if I'm going back to that in, punching mats, but is a speed worm, or also known as a swim worm. Again, I Texas rig those. You can throw those weightless. You can also throw those with a little bit of weight on them. I love those because I'm not much of a kind of sitting, I don't have a lot of patience. I like moving baits. What I like about the swim worm is it's that big soft plastic, similar to this, except the way it's built is it's got little kickers on the back of it, and you throw it out, and I just either slow roll it, or I just reel that in, and it's moving through grass again, and it's pulling through grass pretty well, and the bass seem to really love that. Your other standard, can you throw a wacky rig? Sure. You got a weedless, you're not going to throw it in too much grass. What I like to do is I'll take a stick worm and Texas rig it. That way it'll throw over some grass. If it's matted, it'll kind of sit on top of there. As soon as it finds a little hole, it'll shimmy down a little bit. So there are a bunch of options. I just laid out the ones I use the most, what I like using to fish grass. But the key is bass love grass. Don't be intimidated. I laid out some options here for you. Get the right equipment, do another video on that, do some research on that. But here's some options for you. All these, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got 13 baits out here, and I didn't even cover all of them that I use for fishing grass. And I absolutely love fishing grass. Here in Northwest Ohio, you kind of have to like fishing grass. Northern part of the, even Northeast Ohio, you gotta love fishing grass. Otherwise, you might as well just stay home. Don't be intimidated by grass. Remember, bass love grass. Fish the grass, find the bass. Thanks for joining me. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Leave me some comments, share the video. Hope you have a great day.